Welcome back to the deep dive. We're diving into some excerpts from First Samuel today.
Oh, for Samuel.
Yeah.
Fascinating stuff.
It's it's like a historical drama, right?
Right.
Like all this power, all of this divine intervention.
Right.
And then you've got this hero that you just don't expect.
Well, and the thing that's so interesting is it's this really pivotal moment in Israel's history.
Yeah.
We're going from this nation led by judges like Samuel to one that's ruled by kings.
Right.
Big implications.
Yeah, huge implications.
Okay.
Okay, so let's just jump right in.
Let's do it.
The first excerpt starts with Hannah.
Okay.
And she's longing for a child.
Right.
And you read her prayer in First Samuel chapter 1,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so raw.
It is.
It's so emotional.
Yeah, and it really, you kind of get a sense of like the social pressures of the time.
Yeah.
Like imagine being barren in a society that puts so much emphasis on motherhood.
Yeah, it's got to be crushing.
Oh, absolutely.
And then she pours her heart out to Eli the priest.
Yeah.
And she says, "No, my lord. I am a woman troubled in spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but I have been pouring out my soul before the Lord."
Wow.
It's verses 15 and 16 of chapter 1.
Powerful.
And, Eli, he kind of misjudges her at first.
Right.
Adds like a whole other layer to the story.
It does. But then you have that contrast later on in chapter 2.
Okay.
Verse 5 says, "The barren has borne 7, but she who has many children is forlorn."
That's pretty amazing.
Right. It's like this juxtaposition that God can overturn anything.
Yeah.
Like even these deeply entrenched social norms
Right.
that seem impossible,
Things that seem impossible.
he can change them.
Wow. So like that's a sense of hope.
Yeah,
Like a reminder that God can work in ways we can't even imagine.
absolutely.
But then things shift a little bit.
Okay.
And we meet Eli's sons, Hophni and Phinehas,
Uh-huh.
and they're described as wicked men.
Yeah.
Their actions really paint a dark picture of like this corruption in the priesthood.
Oh, yeah. And the details are just so vivid. 1 Samuel 2.15:16 says, "Also before the fat was burned, the priest's servant would come and say to the man who was sacrificing, 'Give meat for roasting to the priest, for he will not accept boiled meat from you, but raw.'"
Oh my gosh.
It's like shocking.
like they're taking advantage
They are.
of these people's religious devotion for their own personal gain.
Absolutely. It's just abuse of power.
And you can feel it, right? Like the tension's building. Like something's got to give,
Yeah.
and it does.
Okay.
This man of God shows up, and he delivers this chilling prophecy against Eli's house.
Whoa.
And it's chapter 2, verses 27 to 36.
Big time consequences.
Yeah, it's not just like a personal rebuke.
Right.
This is like a warning
Yeah.
about corrupt leadership,
Yeah.
about turning away from God's laws.
Yeah.
And it sets the stage for what's about to happen next,
Okay.
which is maybe one of the most shocking things in this whole book.
What's that?
The Ark of the Covenant is captured.
No way.
I know, it's like they're facing this military threat and they just panic. And they're like, bring out the big guns.
Yeah.
But there's this sense of misplaced faith in that.
Totally. They're treating it like it's some magical thing, like a
Right.
guarantee of victory.
Yeah.
Like they've totally forgotten that it's a symbol of God's presence.
Right, not like a weapon.
Exactly.
And in 1 Samuel 4.3,
Okay.
it says, "They brought the ark onto the battlefield. Let us bring the ark of the covenant of the Lord from Shiloh to us, that when it comes among us, it may save us from the hand of our enemies."
Unbelievable.
But it doesn't save them.
Nope.
The Philistines capture the ark.
Oh, wow.
It is a crushing defeat.
Yeah.
Militarily and spiritually,
Yeah.
Eli's sons are killed.
Oh, no.
Even Eli dies when he hears the news.
Oh, my gosh.
And then you have this little detail about Eli's grandson.
Okay.
He's born right at this time.
Uh-huh.
And they name him Ichabod, which means the glory has departed from Israel.
Wow.
So heavy.
Yeah, it really captures the feeling of the nation.
Yeah, like this total loss and despair.
Totally.
And the crazy thing is,
What?
the Philistines, they capture the ark,
Right.
and then they experience God's power firsthand.
Oh, this is going to be good.
But not how they expect at all.
Okay, tell me.
So 1 Samuel 5 describes how they put the ark in their temple of Dagon.
Okay.
And then the next morning, they find Dagon face down before it. I know, and then they try to prop him back up.
Okay.
But then the next day, he's fallen again. And this time his head and hands are broken off.
Oh, my goodness.
It's kind of funny in a way.
Like a divine prank.
Right, but with a serious message.
Don't mess with the God of Israel.
Exactly, and it gets even worse.
Oh, no.
The Philistines, they get struck with tumors. Their city is in chaos.
Oh, my gosh.
It's like the ark is a conduit for God's judgment.
Right.
This tangible reminder of his power.
For sure.
So what do?
Yeah, what do?
They freak out.
Yeah.
Chapter 6, they are scrambling to get rid of this thing.
I bet.
They send it back to the Israelites
Okay.
with a guilt offering,
Okay.
gold tumors and mice.
What a combo.
Right.
So strange.
It's like they're afraid, but also superstitious.
Yeah.
Like trying to appease this God they clearly don't understand.
And even the way they send it back is so weird.
What do you mean?
They use cows that have never been yoked.
What?
Yeah, like they're letting divine providence guide the way.
That's wild.
And it's just these little details
Will they
that
be?
make the story so interesting.
Yeah.
It's not just about the big events,
Right.
but these little choices that tell you so much about the characters.
Right.
And it sets the stage for the next big thing.
Okay, what's that?
Samuel becomes the leader,
Uh-huh.
and then the Israelites decide they want a king.
Oh, boy. Here you go.
It seems like they didn't learn their lesson about misplaced faith.
Right. Like looking for a human solution.
Yeah, to a spiritual problem.
Exactly.
They're disillusioned with the judges.
Right.
They want someone powerful,
Yeah.
like the other nations.
Makes sense.
1 Samuel 8.5, they say. Now appoint a king to lead us, such as all the other nations have.
There it is.
But God, he warns them.
He does.
In the next few verses,
Right.
he tells Samuel, this king is going to take their sons, their daughters, their possessions.
Oh, yeah?
He's going to exploit them.
Classic.
It's like a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
You know, even good desires
Right.
can have bad consequences
Totally.
if they're not aligned with God's will.
You got it.
But do the Israelites listen?
I'm guessing no.
No, they want a king, and that's where Saul enters the picture.
Okay, so
The first king of Israel.
this is going to be interesting. Saul's the first king. The first king, big moment.
Huge moment, and it's like a turning point for
Okay.
Israel's history.
Right.
New era, new leadership.
It seems hopeful.
It does, but there's these little hints of trouble.
Oh, really? Like what?
Well, at first Saul seems humble.
Okay.
He doesn't even really want to be king.
Right.
But you see these moments
Oh.
where he's prideful.
Okay.
He wants recognition.
Interesting. So there's some flaws there that could become a problem.
Exactly. And they do as the story goes on. Like
Okay.
in 1 Samuel 13,
Okay.
Saul disobeys God.
Oh, no.
Direct command.
Fine.
He's supposed to wait for Samuel
Okay.
before he offers a burnt offering,
Right.
but he gets impatient
Oh, Saul.
and he does it himself.
So he doesn't wait.
Nope.
It seems like a small thing.
It does, but it's a big deal.
Why is that?
It shows he doesn't trust God's timing,
Right.
and he thinks his own judgment is better than God's instructions.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like a preview of what's to come.
So it's more about what it says about Saul than the action itself.
Right. His character, his relationship with God.
Okay, so this is good. Keep going.
It all comes to a head in chapter 15.
Uh-oh.
God tells Saul to destroy the Amalekites.
Oh, the Amalekites.
Yeah, you remember them?
They're the ones that attacked the Israelites after they left Egypt.
That's right. Enemies of God's people.
So God wants them gone.
Completely destroyed.
And does Saul do it?
Kinda.
Kind of. What do you mean?
He defeats them in battle,
Okay.
but he spares their king, and he keeps some of the best livestock.
For himself.
Well,
So he only followed part of the command.
exactly.
That's not good. Nope. So what happens?
Samuel confronts him,
Okay.
and Saul tries to justify it. Says he was going to sacrifice the animals to God.
How? Says he was going to sacrifice the animals to God?
But really, he just wanted them.
Sounds like it.
Typical Saul.
And Samuel calls him out.
But what does he say?
He says to Saul in chapter 15, verses 22 and 23, "Has the Lord as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Lord? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to listen than the fat of rams. For rebellion is as the sin of divination, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry."
Wow, so outward religious acts, they
Right.
mean nothing.
Nothing.
If you're not really obeying God,
You got it.
that's a tough lesson.
It is. And then Samuel tells Saul that God has rejected him as king
Oh, wow.
because of his disobedience.
That's huge.
It is.
So it's all falling apart for Saul.
Yeah, his reign is crumbling. And that's when we meet David,
Just shepherd.
the future king.
Right.
But it all starts with this secret anointing.
Yeah. Samuel goes to Bethlehem,
Okay.
anoints David.
God told him to do that.
God sent him.
But it's interesting how it happens.
What do you mean?
God tells Samuel to go to Jesse's house
Okay.
to anoint one of his sons as king.
Right.
But he doesn't say which one.
So Samuel has to figure it out
Exactly.
on the spot.
And he almost messes up.
Really?
He sees Eliab, the oldest son,
Okay.
thinks, oh, he must be the one.
Yeah, makes sense.
He looks the part.
Right.
But God's not always about outward appearances.
He's looking at the heart.
Right.
And then David, the youngest,
Okay.
he's brought in,
Uh-huh.
and God says, this is the one.
Wow. So David's chosen,
Yep.
but he's still a shepherd.
Right.
How does he go from sheep to being king?
Well, that's where David and Goliath comes in.
Okay, that's the one everyone knows.
It is.
David takes down this giant...
He's slinging a stone. It's such a great story. It is. And it shows David's character.
Right, he's brave.
Yeah, he's not afraid of a challenge.
And he trusts God.
Absolutely.
But this victory,
Uh-huh.
it makes Saul jealous.
Oh, no.
He sees David as a threat.
Yeah, all that praise for David.
Right. And Saul's worried about his own power.
Exactly.
And that jealousy turns dangerous.
How so?
Saul tries to kill David.
No way.
Several times.
So David's in a tough spot.
Yeah, he's been chosen by God,
Right.
but the current king wants him dead.
It's a power struggle.
Big time.
Full of intrigue, betrayal, narrow escapes.
It's a mess.
It is. David has to run.
From Saul.
He's a fugitive.
Oh, wow.
But there are also these moments of loyalty.
Okay.
Like between David and Jonathan.
Oh, Jonathan, Saul's son.
That's right. They're best friends.
That's interesting.
Jonathan sees David good,
Okay.
and he knows his dad's wrong.
Right.
He tries to protect David.
Even from his own father.
Yeah. He risks his life for David.
True friendship. And then there's that awful story.
Which one?
Saul's rage.
Okay.
He orders all those priests killed.
Oh, yeah, in Nob.
Chapter 22.
That's the one.
Horrible.
It is Saul thinks the priests are helping David,
Okay.
so he has them executed.
Along with their families.
And their livestock?
It's brutal.
It is.
So cruel.
Saul's lost it.
Yeah, he's a tyrant.
Driven by fear.
And David sees all this.
He does.
He must be terrified.
Yeah, he realizes how dangerous Saul is.
And it's a turning point.
How so?
He's not just running for his life anymore.
Right.
He's fighting for Israel.
Against Saul.
Against a king who's lost his way.
That's a battle for the soul of Israel.
It is.
David's character, his faith, his leadership will be tested.
And that battle continues in our next deep dive.
Back into 1 Samuel, it's a power struggle this whole time.
It is.
Between David and Saul.
Right. And it's not just about them.
No, it's about the future of Israel.
It feels like, two trains headed for a collision.
No.
Something's got to break.
Right, and then you get these stories where David could have killed Saul, but he doesn't.
Amazing restraint.
It is like in 1 Samuel 24,
The cave.
David and his men are hiding,
Right.
and Saul walks right in.
He has no idea they're there.
The perfect chance.
Right. Take him out, problem solved.
But David says no way.
He says, the Lord forbid that I should do this thing to my Lord, the Lord's anointed, to stretch out my hand against him, seeing he is the anointed of the Lord.
Powerful.
That's verse 6.
It's like he gets it.
He does.
Respects God's authority.
Even though Saul's his enemy.
Yeah, he's still God's chosen king.
And David cuts off a piece of Saul's robe.
What? Why?
To prove he could have killed him.
Oh, wow, that's ballsy.
It is.
What does Saul do?
He freaks out at first,
I bet.
but then he breaks down,
Oh, wow.
weeping remorse. He knows David's in the right.
He says, "You are more righteous than I, for you have repaid me good, whereas I have repaid you evil."
That's verses 17 and 18.
You almost feel bad for Saul.
I know.
Like maybe he'll change.
But it doesn't last.
Nope, the jealousy comes back.
And the chase is on again.
Oh man, poor David.
And then it happens again.
What the robe thing?
No, Saul sleeping in his camp.
Okay.
David could kill him again.
Chapter 26.
That's right.
So what happens this time?
This time David's got Abishai with him.
Okay.
And Abishai's like, let's do this. God has delivered your enemy into your hand this day. Now, please let me pin him to the earth with one stroke of the spear, and I will not strike him twice.
Verse 8.
But David still says no.
He's unbelievable.
I know such strong faith.
He really trusts that God will take care of it.
He takes Saul's spear and water jug, though,
Why?
just to prove he was there.
Oh, wow, like a little message.
Right. But he leaves Saul alive.
It shows he's not about revenge.
Right. He's waiting on God.
To make him king.
But then David makes some choices that are kind of tough to understand.
Like what?
He goes to the Philistines for help.
What? The enemy.
I know, it seems crazy.
It does, but he's desperate.
Right, he's still running from Saul.
Needs allies.
And he thinks maybe Ashish the Philistine king will help.
So risky.
It almost backfires.
Oh.
The Philistines go to war with Saul.
Oh.
And they expect David to fight with them.
Against his own people.
I know, but the other Philistine leaders, they don't trust him.
Right. They remember what he did to Goliath.
Exactly. So they make Achish send him away.
Close call. It is...
So even David,
Yeah.
chosen by God,
Right.
he makes tough choices.
He does. Sometimes there's no easy answer.
It's messy.
It is. And then Saul and his sons, they die in battle.
Sad ending.
It is.
He had so much potential.
Right. God chose him. He was the first king.
But the pride, the jealousy,
The disobedience.
it destroyed him.
It's a reminder for all of us.
What's that?
It doesn't matter how much power you have.
Right.
You can still fall.
It's about character.
It is. And then there's David,
The shepherd?
the future king.
The one God chose.
It's a new era for Israel.
It is full of hope. 1 Samuel. It's quite a story.
It is so much drama, so much intrigue.
So many lessons.
What stands out to you the most?
I think it's the contrast between Saul and David.
Yeah, me too.
Like a lesson in leadership.
Right. Pride versus humility.
It makes you think, what kind of leader do you want to be?
That's the question, isn't it?
It is. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into 1 Samuel.
It's been a fascinating journey.